What is art theft? Is it big corporate stealing and downloading and scraping all artists' work for a product like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, OpenAI, all those? Is it the small artist tracing others' work and saying it's their own? Is it creating a photo bash from another piece of work and painting over it? Is creating a collage art theft? Is it using a reference at all and not using your imagination? Well, I'm going to go over it in this video. I'm Nimis, your friendly neighborhood artist, but before that, if you could like and subscribe and turn on notifications, that'd be awesome because it says 90% of you who watch me aren't actually subscribed. Which I'm pretty sure it's either because my mic is shit or because my videos are suggested to literally anything and everything. Anyway, on to the art theft. Now we know that master artists have been taking shortcuts forever, and professional artists also take shortcuts. But when is it taking a shortcut? And what is it taking from other people's work and calling it your own? Now, we all know I talk mad shit about AI and how it takes people's work without compensation or credit, and it can plagiarize original works. That's different. It can accidentally create something that already exists without a specific enough prompts, and I'm not talking about image to image. It's art theft, because big tech is taking something akin to actual art and then selling the output of the generations for profit. But it's technically a gray area legally, but it's still theft in the eyes of artists, because it doesn't belong to you. Now, could you reference AI works without worrying about it or plagiarizing another work? Probably, if you don't use any style names nor lauras of other artists. Now, I knew, like, for example, if someone posted something that was a prompt that was like, girl hiding in the leaves and see what happens. I'm not advocating for it, but if you're using it, this is likely will make sure that you're less likely to get in trouble with other people on the internet or your boss. Now here's an example of someone who redrew AI. Now she didn't have to include it in her post, but she did, and it's definitely different. And the thing is, she can literally sell her version of it as a print, and not a single person would be angry with you for redrawing something from AI. But there are some people who believe that referencing AI at all is a problem, and I just don't care about that, because you can get a reference from literally freaking anything. You know, once I got reference from a keychain because it had like really cool colors on it. Like, you can just get inspiration from anything. But if you trace AI and sell it like Tia sketches, like this, as you can see, she clearly does not have the skills that she's claiming to have, and she cannot draw on her own, and she takes all these work and she sells for a profit. And I hope none of y'all are into that sketchy stuff. Anyway, there are artists who are hyper-realists, and hyper-realists literally need something to look at to draw, because they're like, I don't want to say it's copying, but I don't know what they call it because I'm not a hyper-realist. But essentially, yes, they are copying, but they're doing it in a more complicated way, right? Because it's not just about seeing what you're seeing. It's more than that. Now, did they draw what they saw one for one? Yes, they did. But I feel that if you're taking from something and you're not showing people what the reference is from, and you're saying you did it all from your brain, that you're a liar, and you need to stop that.
You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
But what Tia Sketches is doing, for example, is looking at the AI, tracing it technically, and then painstakingly painting over it. And you can tell that she's a hyper-realist because of her method, because the method doesn't match the madness. She does it in a way you can't see it and then goes over it. Now, I've also seen someone personally on Twitch, and I'm not going to expose them. I saw that they used AI for their PNG tuber, and all they did was trace over it and really poorly color it. But they do take commissions, and it's literally AI. They're using Stable Diffusion, tracing over it, saying it's their own. And it's not even that good, because I have a feeling what they're doing is they're tracing over it, but they don't want to trace perfectly, so they're letting the parts that are bad with the image stay bad, and then they try to draw their own version, but they're not good at it. And I don't want to call them out, because I feel like once they get big enough, someone will do it for them. Now, what if a small artist sees something and they do trace it. And then they kind of make it their own. Like this example right here. I feel this is a gray area with a yes and no situation, because at some point there's tracing and then there's plagiarism. But you can trace and plagiarism, or you can just do plagiarism, because there's also cute robot butts, and there's Sexio, or how Sexio. I don't even know how to say their name. But for example, you can see these two images. You can tell that this person is clearly a good painter because they were able to do this one for one, but they also barely changed it enough so that it could be plagiarism. It could be considered tracing, but they're clearly taking from this person's work, right? And because they're two big creators, they have a lot of issues. But this is a small creator and this is a small creator. Now, you can tell that these are inherently different with inherently different like skill sets. When you take something that takes from another image so strongly, you should really be referencing the other work and like credit the other artist, because what happens is it's not different enough. To me, it's not different enough. It's leading towards plagiarism because, as you can see, it's character with the same dress on, a slightly different hairstyle, with a background that's still a beach, background that sells water on it. So it literally does look almost one for one, but it's not, because it is different. It's just not different enough to me. And the only thing you can really do, because you're not going to take this person to court, is you're going to just shame them for tracing. And that's why so many people are shamed for tracing. Because what they really should have done is, if they were going to do that, they should have made the scenery a very different scenery, because they still could have been wearing that dress. It didn't have to be at a beach. It could have been in another place. The dress didn't have to be the same color. They could have added accessories, but they didn't add enough to make it different so that when someone saw it, they would go, oh yeah, this is a different image than this. Because the first one that I showed you is just theft, and that's trying to be an artist, but it's like malicious for clout and nothing more. And the one I showed you where the background has changed and some details have changed, that's more of a case where if they would have done something different, it would have been better. Because the real problem is the original artist is never getting credit for being the reference for that other image, even though they took so strongly from it. And now, because they're not getting the deserving credit for the work, it's muddying the waters. Like, clearly we know who took from who, because when you have something like this, where it's, you know, this image is clearly just a traced image. It might not even be traced. They're just saying it's theirs. But it could be traced. There's no differences. That's just for clout. Now we're going to talk about like when big boy artists do it. You know, the ones that have been on the internet with the famous artworks and everybody loves them. So let's talk about Faye Dalton with the Magic the Gathering problem. So they were caught stealing from Donato Giancola for their card Trouble in Pairs. And as you can see in this image, it just looks like a normal Magic the Gathering card art, but it's hyperrealism stuff. But the thing is the problem here is that hyperrealism needs to take from other realistic stuff, right? Because they can't just come up with imagination. They have to take from other things. And I'm like, I hope that I'm not sounding like a jerk by saying that. It's just, I'm not a hyperrealist, and this is like a very outside view into how people draw from hyperrealist stuff. So if I am wrong, someone who does hyperrealism in the comments, please comment below and tell me how I'm wrong, because I would love to learn from you. So the next time I make a video, I won't sound like a dick. So while they can draw, their work is just different, you know? It's just different. And it seems that they took from a book from the mid-1990s. It was a Cyberpunk 2020 universe book. And it's basically like flipping the canvas, paint over work, but it's not enough that it was truly changed. I mean, that's me. And there's clearly some photo bashing going on, because there's like parts of it where it's like take from this, take from this, take from this, take from that, take from some 1950s work. And I feel like because this could have to go to courts because of fair use, because this is technically a collage at this point, as all collages would have to go to court to define fair use, it was just easier to let that person go, especially because they were plagiarizing another person who did Magic the Gathering cards. So I would suggest if you're going to use a reference, you're going to have to use more than one reference. because it's got to be real different, because I don't think in a court of law that this would be considered fair use. Because if you look at like exactly how much of the work belongs to them, it might not be any of it compared to this thing right here. But I'm not a judge and I don't know. But she was suspended because of this, and that girl could not get enough. I mean, she does not know that you have to hide it better, sweetie. You gotta hide it better. You got this card and that card. They all look plagiarized. And you would think that if you became a magic artist, you would probably do your best not to plagiarize anybody. And I'm going to tell you, listen, Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, if you ever came down and you gave me a job drawing one of your cards, I promise you that I would not plagiarize other people's work, okay? Listen, if I wanted to work for any place, it would be for Disney, Lorcana, because damn it, that art is so beautiful. Oh, sorry, I'm like totally off topic, because I'm like talking about Disney Lorca because one night I decided that I was going to buy all the cards in my sleep at 3 a.m. but still being awake and on Amazon, and I had like $300 worth of cards in my eBay cart, and then I woke up the next day and I was like, what was I going to do with all these? But that's why you come here. You come here for my stupid stories. Oh, do you guys remember the RossDraw's tracing thing? That was a thing too. And basically what he did was he did a paint over, and that's part of his process, right? He finds references and then he paints over them in his own style. But he did it so closely that it actually resembled the girl. And you have to credit if you're going to do that. If it looks like a 1-for-1, man, you got to do something. You can't just, you got to make it different. You got to make it different. But anyway, you have to, like, if you're going to take from something, you just have to credit, man. If you're not sure, if you're looking at it and you're going, man, that looks like really close, then it's probably too close, my friend. You're going to have to credit. I know people don't like crediting because they like to say that they're the idea brain behind it, but if your idea brain is too much, you're gonna have to credit somebody, okay? So is creating a collage to paint over it like tracing or plagiarism? If you're using 4 pictures in your collage, maybe, but you should have more. No one should be able to look up your right arm in one of your photos and find that it's from the 1950s. I'm just saying. Also, at the same time, it doesn't really happen in landscape artists, because with landscape, there's literally, like, anyone can do the same photo as you, right? You just paint over it. Unless you're taking from someone famous like Philip Sue. Like, if you did a photo bash and you painted over it, I think that you could not consider that any type of plagiarism, but it would be plagiarism or tracing if it's too strongly referencing something that looks like something else, right? But at the same time, like with people who make poses, you know, so someone's going to find your original pose. Like, for example, if you do something in the pose of like Sailor Moon, right? Now let's talk about her real quick, because she uses references, right? And I actually didn't know this. Oh my God. When it came to manga artists, I went, they're the godsends that came down from heaven of the art gods, and they just gave us art from their imaginations with no references. They've never seen a reference, completely from their mind. No, I am stupid to believe that. Anyway, Takeuchi, yeah, so recently some of her references were found, and they're actually from like high fashion references or from old movies. And the thing is people were like, what are you doing? She's just copying other stuff. And it feels less because she's just a tracer. Like, can I just say, can you all just chill out? You know when someone's doing it maliciously, and you know it's not tracing. You know if someone draws something that they looked at, it's not freaking tracing. Dang it. It might be plagiarism, but if it's different enough, it's not even tracing. Give an artist a break, Jesus. So now some people think that there's like less. She's like less because of that. It's like, come on. Like, the whole reason I decided to make this video in the first place is because I was talking to my husband about one of my panels from my comic, right? And I literally showed it to him, and I took this panel from the internet, and it was exactly what I wanted. But I felt weird about it because I was like, well, even if I change it and even if I make it different, someone's going to be like, oh, well, that's just that. If you redraw it, even if it's not tracing. So I asked him, even if I made it with my characters, is it tracing? He goes, well, you just want to affirm your own opinion, but it's tracing.
Let me ask you something. Somebody draws something and then draw the exact same thing, like right on top of it, without going outside the original designated art. What do you call it?
I don't know, man. Tracing?
See?
And I was like, even if it's a completely different body and everything, he goes, yep, still tracing. So I went and I redid all the panels, and I feel like my comic is less now in those 4 panels because now it doesn't have the cool perspective anymore, and it's just boring. To me, anyway. And the thing is when I was trying to look up the situation to see if I could get an answer, there's no like clear answer. I feel like it is a gradient. It is a spectrum from tracing to imagination. And you have tracing, and then you have plagiarizing, and then you have referencing, and then you have copying, and then you have imagination, right? So I feel like you should be leaning over towards the side of imagination, but past copying for it to be original artwork. But at the same time, we have manga artists like the guy who writes Slam Dunk, Takahiko Inoue. Look at this image. He is clearly obsessed with American basketball. And it got me wondering, well, how much is too much? And I was like, I need to do a video about this. And even Alicia Nye, like, I follow her, I love her. Oh, she's so cool. She's just so cool. And she's so nice. But anyway, she literally took her own photo of her own body and just blurred out her face. And then she like used that as the reference. And she traced over the shape so she could like just get to the next part, right? And people in the comments on Instagram were literally giving her shit for taking her own photo and tracing. Like, oh my god, you're such a tracer. It's cheating. You can't do that. You can't trace. Why are you tracing? As if we haven't seen her do a work from beginning to end on her YouTube channel. Now, if you don't want to get accused of tracing, I feel like there's only a few things that you can do. Is don't use a reference. Only use your imagination. But shut up. Just shut up. Literally everyone does it. Even Norman Rockwell, and people like think he's amazing. Like, look at this. This is just literally, look. It's not that different. It's different, but it's not that different, okay? But then when you get online, people are like, oh my god, you used a reference. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you did something with your brain? And I'm going to tell you right now, I have a hot take. If you said you drew from imagination, no, you didn't. You're lying to me. I don't believe you. I will never believe you. I will never believe you. Never. Someone who said, I drew this for 15 minutes completely from imagination in a dentist office? No, I don't believe you. You're lying. So, number 2. Do not literally trace the reference one for one. Like, please, come on now. If you're like doing it to get the body shape, like if you're going to do the pose, that's one thing. And then you're like, whatever, that's fine. But like, don't like go over all the lines with your scraggly ass lines and then expect me to believe you when you can't make a straight line to save your soul. Okay? Doing the constructions over a reference, fine. I don't care. That's fine. People are going to say, oh my god, that's tracing. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that's tracing. Because you're literally doing the construction. You're still learning. And art is always about learning. So, but I think if you're not making it different, then yeah, you got to credit the owner. Because I feel like your drawing should only have about 30% other people's content in it. If you're referencing. Let's be real. I would also, number 3, I would also avoid making collages unless you're going to do significant levels of painting over. Like, look at this picture right here. I did this, right? I suck at drawing realistic backgrounds or backgrounds in general. So I just decided I would do a photo bash. And I think I have a video of me doing the photo bash. If you want to check it out, I don't know. But I'm sure some of you guys could find out what they were. But there are so many that I used in the original image that, you know, it would be a lot of time spent trying to find them all. Because I think I have like 15 for the background, and for her I have like 4, and then there was like clothes, so there's just a lot. And to be honest, the moment I'm done with like a reference, I delete it. But we're not going to talk about my Pinterest board, because my Pinterest board has 4,000 pins, as if I'm going to draw 4,000 different artworks based on every single one of those things. And let me put it this way, if you're a hyper-realist and you're drawing anime, listen, you are talented because you can observe perfectly, okay? You have a talent, but you have to reference the original image. I'm so sorry. And especially if you think you're going to be teaching people stuff, no, you're not going to do that either. You're not teaching people how to draw normally, okay? No one colors just the face and then branches out and then does the background last. No, that's not how art works. That's how hyperrealists do it because that's just their workflow. I think I skipped over like other numbers, so I'm not going to number them anymore. You cannot say that palettes and poses and styles belong to you. They don't belong to you. Someone can totally take your image and try to be like you because people get inspired by you or by other people. Like if someone decided, oh my god, I love Nemesis' style. Her style is so cute. And they're like, I want to draw just like her. And then their art starts to look like mine a little bit. It's not going to look like mine 100%. Look at all the artists that love Disney, right? All of them have different stuff. If someone is telling you you stole their color palette, tell them to shut up. Tell them to go kick rocks. Throw sandal at them. Now, if someone's accusing you of stealing a pose, same thing. Just tell them to shut up. I understand the style thing people are sensitive about, but I feel that if you're teaching people how to draw like you, then that is inevitably going to happen. And you got to understand that, like, there's a lot of people who've learned from RossDraws and Sam Does Art. So you can tell when someone has been learning off of their work. But the only thing that I would definitely stay away from is I would stay away from poses that are popular in media, like that belong to specific characters. Like maybe don't draw a high school girl in the same pose as Sailor Moon and someone won't think you're plagiarizing, because that's where it gets a little bit muddy. Because people take from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure all the time, even Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think the only colors I would definitely stay away from is one that belongs to the big boy companies like Pepsi and Reese's and Coca-Cola. Like they have specific shades that belong to them, and I know those are copyrighted shades and you can't like use them in advertising, but I don't know more about the rules other than that. And another one would be like just credit. I know no one's going to be ashamed of you. That's why it's so important for AI users, if there's any in my audience, to expose your use of AI. And speaking of art stuff, if you're looking into fixing your art and if you wonder why do I suck? Check out my next video after this one. Anyway, I'm going to start uploading on a different day of the week. I'm going to start doing it on Friday now because I think that would be best for at least for my videos per week. So yeah, see ya next time. And real quick, I'd like to hear from you. Like, what do you guys think of like tracing? Do you think AI is tracing? Do you think some of my examples were, shades of gray? What do you consider to be tracing or art theft?
I'm not gonna let you see you fucking tracer! I'll trace a chocolate around your dead fucking body, you fuck! Would you get him out of here? Hey, wait a second! He's your me! You fucking tracer! Your mother's a tracer!